here it is. This is the Canon R6. Hey, what's up guys? This is Andre Estrepo and welcome back to a new video. Today we are talking about the Canon R6 and my top 5 favorite features after using this camera for a couple weeks now. I have a lot to say about it, so let's get into this video right now. So a little bit of backstory, I'm coming from a Canon 5D Mark IV. It's actually what's currently filming us right now. For me, one of the biggest things though is how different mirrorless cameras are from DSLRs. And so there's a lot of features packed into this camera. So let's get into the top 5 right now. First and foremost, one of my top favorite features on this camera is the IBIS. The in-body image stabilization in this camera is probably the best I've ever used, especially because it just doesn't apply to video. It's a huge help for photography. With this camera, I was taking photos at like 1/20th of a second on my 24-70 or even slower than that, and they were coming out tack sharp. So I don't know about you guys, but that's like a game changer, honestly. Now for video, this is also a big game changer. So a little bit of my filmmaking style, especially a lot of the content that you see on this YouTube channel, I like to do almost everything handheld. I have a gimbal, it's right there. I have a Ronin S. I used it a lot actually, but I don't really like to. I have to use my Ronin S for, a lot of moving shots and especially shooting interiors of homes to get really nice cinematic clean video of that. But honestly, for the stuff that you see on my channel, almost all of it is shot handheld without any sort of image stabilization. I like to use like my 35 and my 24-70 for B-roll shots, and I shoot it in 60 handheld, either with a camera strap or with just, as non-shaky, as what's the word? What's the opposite of shaky? As smooth as I can, and I just kind of have to like stabilize it in post. So it's not a foolproof plan. And that's where this camera takes it to the next level, because you can honestly shoot handheld and your stuff is gonna be really smooth. Take again my 24-70. It's one of my favorite lenses. The image out of that is beautiful, but it doesn't have any image stabilization. So shooting handheld with that is really hard. Now with this camera, 24-70 just looks like you're on a gimbal. I can be at 70 millimeters, still being steady, and that shot is gonna be pretty smooth, and it looks great, and it just makes me so happy because again, I love shooting everything handheld. The smaller the setup I can use, the more run and gun style that I can do, the happier I am and the more comfortable I am filming that way versus always having to bust out a gimbal. Okay, so next is the 4K 60 packed into this camera and the video features that can be found in here. Finally, we have a 4K camera that has basically no crop. I say basically because there is like a very, very slight crop. I think it's like 96%, don't quote me on that. But you get full frame 4K 60, 30, and 24, and I can say that the image out of that looks beautiful. It is some of the nicest colors I've seen come out of Canon's cameras, and so I'm super happy with that. So along with that, shooting 10-bit 422, it looks incredible, especially the Canon log. This is actually my first camera that I've gotten to use with Canon log on my 5D. I don't have that. I basically just shoot in a really flat profile. So having Canon log in here with 10-bit, I can honestly tell the difference because I've used an EOS R for a lot of times. I've shot it, I've rented it for wedding films and other projects, and a lot of friends use it, and it looks great and it works great. But specifically, I noticed that there was a difference as far as like noise, how clean the image looked, how well the colors held up, and I was really impressed. So with all those video features to finish it off with the flip screen and the IBIS, this honestly makes it like a really awesome video creator setup, because I'm not used to being able to see myself on camera with the little screen on the side. You have no idea how many shots I've lost because it was poorly exposed. No, it was out of focus because I can't see what I'm filming on my 5D. So I'm honestly super stoked on all the video features they packed in here. Sorry if you hear this during the video, I keep just doing this. It's fun. Moving on. Which brings me to number 3, the autofocus. I thought that the 5D Mark IV pretty much had the best autofocus in the game, and honestly it did in its time, but things have changed, new technology, mirrorless cameras, so That doesn't mean that that camera doesn't have any great autofocus, because it really does. It's incredible, but this is even next level. Everything from how easily it can track a face to the eye autofocus to the fact that if you're filming somebody and they turn around, it still tracks that face and recognizes it. That was one thing that I didn't expect. So along with that, this is another feature. It actually makes third-party lenses like Sigma Arts even better. So I use a lot of Sigma Art glass. I think the image out of there is really nice, super sharp. So combining those lenses with this autofocus basically just makes them that much more accurate yet again. So now my fourth favorite feature about this camera is the tactical feel in the buttons on this camera, and I'll explain. Specifically, the wheel, the joystick, and the knob. Let me tell you why. Coming from my 5D Mark IV, it feels really familiar, and I'm so happy that they added this for your aperture, scrolling through photos. This right here, so you can select different autofocus points and whatever you're selecting. And then also the menu right here. Even though on my 5D, the dial just sits on manual mode, but on here, you have to actually flip to video mode to select manual video, which I'll get into in a second later, but having that tactical feel is actually a lot better to me. I wasn't a huge fan of that, again, on the EOS R, but you know, some people like it. And then I'm so glad that they brought this button back right here, because I did not like it on the EOS R. Every time I used it, it just didn't really work well. It wasn't really reliable, didn't use it. And so this is a much better feature for sure. So if you're coming from a Canon DSLR, you'll find this pretty familiar. So finally, number 5 is probably not going to be something that you would consider as a top 5 favorite thing, but it's the 20 megapixel photos. Now let me explain. This camera shoots 20 megapixel photos, and I actually could not be happier with that for a couple reasons. First of all, the 20 megapixel photos out of this camera look incredible. I was editing these. I had a video on this where I was editing some lifestyle photos that I took of some people, and the images looked incredible. The dynamic range was great. The colors looked so good just straight out of camera, and they are 10 megapixels less than my camera. My 5D shoots 30 megapixel photos, so that was one of the biggest things I was concerned about, is I'm gonna notice the difference. The photos that came out of this just feel more vibrant, more real to life. It just looks really, really good, and they edited phenomenally. You know, I was really happy with them, and I didn't once for a second say, man, I wish these were 30 megapixel photos. And honestly, if you're on the fence about it, the 1DX Mark II and 3 are both 20 megapixel cameras. So those are their pro line. Along with the fact that this camera is 20 megapixels means it's actually gonna perform better in low light than, say, something like the R5, which has almost double the megapixels. No, it does. It definitely has more than double the megapixels. So for someone like me that is not only a minimalist in their lifestyle, but also a digital minimalist, I don't like having tons and tons of data to go through. 20 megapixel photos is great because it's space saver. So lastly, who is this camera intended for? You know, is this aimed for the professional, the hobbyist, the video creator? And so honestly, I think it's all of the above. It kind of depends on your work. If you're a photographer, a videographer, a YouTuber, any sort of content creator, where I think even up to the professional level, this is gonna be, you know, really great camera. So I think I'm sold on it. I think that I am gonna be really looking to invest in this camera, because I think for everything that I'm doing as far as YouTube, the other type of work I do, it's gonna just be a really great asset to me and my business. So, you know, I think I might invest in the R6 in the near future. Time to send the R6 back.